Hey everyone, welcome to a gameplay commentary match. This is going to be a Grandmaster ring match, as you guys can see, and we're going to be playing on the map Spider Islands, Tokyo 2099, and we're going to be playing the game type Convoy. Now, for those of you that don't know, I'm a support main, so we're going to be playing support this game. Now, if you guys don't know, I'm a support main, and so we're going to, lock in, well, we want to lock in the rocket here at least. I kind of wanted to go over this game because I thought this was a really good learning opportunity for both myself and obviously you guys as well. People looking to get better, looking to see how like Grandmaster and up matches are played. And I thought this was a good game because it was very interesting. I'll kind of put it at that. It was a very interesting game, and I think you guys will see what I mean as we go through it. But in any case, though, let's go ahead and talk about the bans. So my team obviously wants to ban Luna. That's what we do. They ban Spider-Man. Spider-Man is not typically banned. I don't know why they did. Maybe we have a Spider-Man one trick. Usually if like off bans like that or non-mainstream bans are banned, that means that the enemy team has a one trick and they don't want them playing that. So who knows? Maybe we did have one this game. But Luna's typically banned, and so is Hawkeye, and so is Hela. Those characters usually banned, and recently also Strange too. Doctor Strange is banned because he's just an OP tank. But recently we've been starting to see more Hulk bans and also Iron Man, because that combo, listen, I've been saying forever that combo is OP. All right. I've been saying this since like day one of seeing Iron Man flying around like one-shotting me with his beam because he has a Hulk on his team, all right? Like, no. That combo's ridiculous. Whenever there's an abuser in the game, I ban it next match instantly. Like, I just try to. It's just too good. But let's go ahead and get right into the game, and I'll go ahead and skip all the, pre-game stuff. All right, guys, here we are in the game. And so pretty much what I'm going to be showing you guys is kind of like how I position and what I'm thinking about. Maybe some things I do wrong, some things I do right. So hopefully you guys can, learn and get better as well if you guys are, trying to climb the ranks and all that jazz. So first things first, I like rocking on this map, on defense in particular. Main reason is because the respawn is pretty far, at least from this first point. And so that res beacon can go a long way. Now, I usually like putting it where you just saw me put it because I think that's overall one of the best spots. Gives your teammate that respawns a nice little vantage point. It's hard for them to get to, so on and so forth. So Penny's going to go ahead and die, but because we put down a respawn beacon, Penny's already back up, and that's the beauty of it, right? That's why I like Rocket so much. I just think he has... first of all, I think his team up with Punisher is fantastic, and also with Bucky, but especially Punisher. And I also think his respawn is just amazing. The other thing, too, I like about this area with Rocket is that the healing can bounce a lot. I usually like more enclosed areas with rocket healing because the heals are bouncing everywhere. So it's easy to just kind of like heal everybody, or easier, I should say. And so that's kind of why I like this area. But we're kind of getting stomped right now. They're pushing us back quite a bit, as you guys can see. And I'm not really sure why, at least like while I'm going through this game, like what, why are we getting stomped? What happened? Like I already respawned the Penny. Sure, Penny got picked, but Penny's already back up. And we unfortunately just end up cornering ourselves here, but I don't really think it matters too much because they were just overly taking the point anyways. Like it just didn't matter. They do have Hela and Groot, though. Groot is fantastic on this area, this like little push on the map, because his walls can easily trap people in and block damage. Again, more narrow areas, so the walls are going to be a little bit more effective because they're harder to sort of get around, if that makes sense. But anyways, off respawn, we're going to try to, go back and help out our team. But we're just kind of dropping like flies, I don't really know what's going on this game right now. Rocket doesn't have the most healing. Rocket is can be like a stat stick late game, meaning that like he gets a lot of healing as the game goes on because he has like a lot of sustained healing. It's really easy for him to shoot out his healing and heal anybody at any point in the map, right? Either close to you or far away from you. But he doesn't really have too much burst healing, right? It's more about healing over time for him. So... you typically want to pair him with like someone else that's going to heal a lot. I don't really think of Loki as someone that heals too much, but he can if you're in tight areas. So, like, for example, that left shift that Loki does right there, that would have been great if he would have hit our allies with it. But, that ability alone, like, heals a lot, right? And so those kinds of things from Loki can actually heal a lot, but Loki's not going to get the most healing either, so... Our sort of like support backline comp was a little scuffed from the get-go. One thing I also want to talk about too is the fact that like I see so many Rockets have like 100 player damage at the end of the game, and I know like people when they lock in this character they just think like, hey, let me just like spam right click, and yes, that's what you do most of the time, I would definitely say, but you want to like shoot your gun here and there, right? Like you don't just want to heal, you want to shoot your gun, especially the tanks that are in your face. The reason being is because I was gonna say, as you guys can see, but he kind of got around the wall. But the big reason is because Rocket melts people in his face, especially tanks because they have larger hitboxes. So, especially if you're getting those like crits, he does a lot of damage. And so it's really good to actually like put in that DPS if you can. You know, maybe fire out a few balls, a few healing balls, and then try to get some damage off to somebody that's, again, going to be in your face. But in any case, though, they've already passed point 2, and they're like, it honestly just seems like they have 0 resistance right now. I mean, they're just pushing this convoy up. We're not doing anything about it. Our damage seems to be lacking. Our healing's like, everything is lacking. Oh, and by the way, that rocket dash you just saw me do, you can actually do a further dash if you kind of like dash towards like the edge or the end of your climb, I guess. I think that's the best way I can explain it. I don't do it too much, but and honestly, I don't even intend to do it that much, but I think it's something good to get into. It's a good habit to get into if you're playing Rocket, just to maximize his kit and use everything that you can possibly use to, you know, your advantage. But yeah, I mean, dude, we're not even like, what are we, like 6 minutes or a few minutes into this game right now, and I mean, they're about to capture this. I mean, this is an insane push by them. I feel like there's not much to really talk about here. We're just kind of getting owned. It makes me think why I even like decided to put this game up on YouTube. But like I said, this was an interesting game. So round 1, we try to shake it off. I try to always play a game with a cool head. I know people like to point fingers and blame each other a lot, but I try to look at more of the, okay, what can we do better or do differently this round, right? That kind of stuff. So for me, that was switching off Rocket. As much as I liked Rocket that round, we just didn't have enough healing, so I was like, okay, maybe I should go Mantis, and I was like, let me go Cloak and Dagger. I think Mantis is a really good character, but I'm a much better Cloak and Dagger, and I actually like Cloak and Dagger's healing more. She's going to heal way more than Mantis does, typically. Mantis has her own advantages here and there, right? Like Mantis Ult, Mantis Stims, the amount of damage Mantis can do if you're hitting everything. Cloak and Dagger can do some decent damage, but she's going to be big for the healing. And so this map, I also like Cloak and Dagger, specifically on the pushes as well. So like we're about to push, so this is a great Cloak and Dagger round. And the reason why is because, and I recently made a Cloak and Dagger video if you guys want to check that out, but the reason why is because more narrow areas, more narrow lanes, and it's really easy for Cloak and Dagger to get a lot of healing off onto her allies. She does a lot of AoE healing. In fact, everything Cloak and Dagger heals with is AoE. Her autos are AoE, her right click's AoE, her E is AoE, everything she heals with is AoE. Her ult, of course, is AoE. And then that allows you to farm up your ult easier, right? So you're going to get a ton of healing off. You can farm your ult easier. And the ult is going to allow you to make great pushes as well for your team. So you guys will see what I'm talking about once I get my ult, the type of pushes that we can make with it. And especially on this map and some other ones where you have more narrow lanes, that's where Cloak and Dagger, in my opinion, shines, especially if Luna gets banned, right? I think Cloak and Dagger is like the second best healer, like not support, but like second best healer in particular, right after Luna. Luna definitely heals the most, and I think Cloak and Dagger kind of heals the second most from my experience at the very least. Some people might say Jeff, but from my experience, it's typically been Cloak and Dagger. So in any case, though, we're going to push this convoy up. We're definitely healing more than we were last round, which is great. One thing I like to do right there is reload cancel. So I do discuss this in the other video I just mentioned, but reload canceling is essentially once I get towards the end of my reloads, my autos, I'll switch stances, and when you swap stances on Cloak and Dagger and swap back, you actually get all your auto attacks back. So what I like to do to minimize any downtime is, you know, swap towards the end to cancel the reload animation and shoot out my like Dark Veil, like right there, and then swap back, and I get the reload off. But let's go ahead and talk about this ult. So we're kind of stuck on this push. It's kind of hard for us to get out. So what I want to do, or what I did, is I ulted aggressively. And this is kind of how you want to play Cloak and Dagger, especially on maps like this, in my opinion, is you want to ult aggressively because it's a zoning tool, right? So it's going to do a lot of healing and damage. People don't realize how much healing it does. I know if you guys play Cloak and Dagger, you get mad at your teammates not standing in it. Listen, guys, Cloak and Dagger ult heals as much or almost as much as Luna ult does. I think it's like 200 HP per second. Luna ult's like 220 HP per second. But Cloak and Dagger ult also stacks as well, so it actually technically heals more than Luna ult does, just in, you know, a smaller area. Point is, it's a zoning tool. You're practically going to be unkillable on it. You and your allies are, and it's going to damage the enemy, so they have to get off the convoy, which allows you to push it up. That's pretty much like what I'm trying to say, and that's why it's great for areas like this, because they have to get off of it. So we were able to push that convoy up, and Punisher, great damage right there. We're able to kind of get this convoy onto point 1 pretty aggressively. But that's why I like Luna, or not Luna, sorry. That's why I like Cloak and Dagger in this area in particular, is because of all that. That zoning tool is nice. Now, Luna ult is the best support ult in the game, hands down in my opinion, but Cloak and Dagger ult I think is up there as well. It does things a little bit differently, and it requires more game sense from your teammates to be useful. But at the same time, too, I think it's very good, especially in situations like the one that we just had. So we're just gonna, stay in the back, spam heal a little bit. You want to make sure as support you position properly, especially on Cloak and Dagger. She has more tools than other supports to get away from dive, especially with her right click and Cloak's form, that dark teleportation ability. You can, jump with it. You can iframe ults with it or anything with it, and you're invisible for a couple seconds. And of course the AoE, so you can use it with teammates as well. But she doesn't. The problem with Cloak and Dagger is she doesn't really have a good ult, or not. She doesn't have good movement to come out of the base. Is what I'm trying to say. But before I say that, real quick, one thing I do want to say as well is here I just create like this little field of goo, or this little path of goo that we can stand on. I really like ulting when Punisher's ulting. Right, it's not going to give him a damage boost like Luna's ult would do, especially if you're spam queuing. But it is going to give that healing path area that Punisher can easily just use to go on a rampage with, because he won't be able to die while he's ulting. In any case, though, going back to it, yeah, the thing about dying with Cloak and Dagger is that when you die, you don't really have like a boost to get out of base with, right? You can like right click for a bit of a movement speed boost for like 1 or 2 seconds, but that's it. Whereas like Luna, you can ice skate back, whereas Rocket, you could dash over, and like Mantis, I think you have like a passive speed boost as well. So like you have like more boosting with other allies, or not with allies, with other characters. But with Cloak and Dagger, it's really hard. So you really want to try not to die, is what I'm trying to say. You really want to try not to die, is the moral of the story. In any case, though, we're going to get some good heals off here. I want to right click my convoy as much as possible, because that's where my allies are grouped. We're going to go ahead and E that as well. E is going to increase the healing that my allies take from all sources by 15% for a few seconds, which is great. So Rocket's also going to benefit from that as well. Fortunately, Hela gets a great ult off here and is able to kill everybody. And also she is able to res the Loki, but I guess she actually didn't kill everybody, because me, Namor, and Magneto are still up, which is great. So we're going to heal Magneto a little bit, best we can. There's that right click I was talking about, trying to use it as an escape. Magneto has a great shield on me, and we're able to kind of go back down, heal each other. One thing that's cool about Dagger is that her autos, again, are AoE, so if you stand next to your allies while you're healing them, you're actually healing yourself as well, which is great. So she has great self-sustain. She has a right click for self-sustain, and she has her ult, or her ult and her autos. Speaking of ult, we're going to ult up here, and we kind of do like a little zigzag on this ramp, which I thought was pretty cool. I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but it, again, created a lot of space, pushed them back, and we're able to piggyback ults off of that, and hopefully capture this convoy in a couple seconds, which we are. Bada bing, bada boom. So, yeah, it's 3-3. One thing I typed here was that I guess both teams just suck on defense, because they just pushed through us like a knife through butter. And we just kind of did the same thing to them. So I was like, all right, I guess like defense is just like not the play on this map, I guess, for either of us. But Cloak and Dagger worked out super well there. I had a really good time with her, so I was like, all right, let me just run it back, right? Like, we're on offense again. Let's just go ahead and run back to Cloak and Dagger. So that's what we're about to do. All right, so I just want to skip a little bit of that, skip a little bit of the downtime, so, you guys didn't have to, like, just wait there and watch me do nothing for 40 seconds. But here we are. We're back on offense, which is great. And I'm just healing everybody like I can. I don't prefer healing any one specific class or character type over others. I just, heal who's ever weak. However, I will say sometimes it's really bad to just kind of focus on healing tanks 24/7. It's really easy to, but it's also really bad. And you do need to look at your DPS a lot. I've noticed that the more I can focus my DPS, like healing my DPS, the more I win, to put it lightly. And that's because your DPS just do, of course, so much damage. And if you can just heal them and let them do their damage without dying, then, you guys kill everybody and you essentially win the game, right? Yeah, I do notice that, like, it's very easy to just tunnel vision onto, your tanks, especially because your tanks are in there taking a lot of damage 24/7, so they need kind of heals 24/7. But if you can, like, always look around and look at your DPS as well, especially with Cloak and Dagger, right? Because Dagger's autos are heat-seeking, so they'll follow your ally and hit them. But here we get our ults up. We're going to go ahead and ult in. We, again, create the zoning path, the zoning tool, so the enemies can't walk through. If they do, like that Dagger did, they just die. Mantis also gets separated because they don't want to walk through that ult, so she's dead. Both their healers are dead, so this should just be like a free push. And yeah, it is. So we're going to go ahead and just kind of push this convoy up a little bit. If you guys didn't know as well, the convoy pushes faster the more people that are on it, up to a maximum of, I think, like 3. So if you have like 3 people on the convoy, this thing will actually be hauling ass, right? It's like upgrading engines. So that's one thing to kind of keep note of. I do like that little feature in this game. I think it's a cool feature because it's like, hey, do you want to, try to spawn trap the enemy or like push them back so you have more space to work with? Or do you just want this convoy to move faster? Typically as a healer, sometimes I like to stay on the convoy as long as I can still see my allies just to help push it up quicker. There we try to switch to Cloak to see if we can immune Namor ult, but we weren't able to. But we were able to immune Magneto ult, which is huge. That allows us to sit here and heal this Punisher. Whenever Punisher is an ult, I know earlier I said I didn't discriminate against who I healed up. But if Punisher is an ult, I will focus the Punisher for sure. Because, like, why not, right? Like, he's one of these massive blocks on the field, so. Do we get the reset here? Do we get the touch here? I actually don't remember. Looks like we're still on it, which is great. We have like no OT left though, so we can't, like, if we leave it, we're cooked. We're done for this round. But it looks like we're still on it, which is fantastic. So, is it me or like do the best pushes in overtime always come from, or not even just in overtime? Do the best pushes just come from the fact that your team's sitting on the convoy because you don't have any time left? I feel like that's when the best pushes happen. But I also feel like it's like I feel like that happens because it forces your team to group up, you know what I mean? Instead of everybody doing their own thing, it's like, hey, we have to group up on this or we will literally lose the game due to time. So I think that's pretty cool. But here I'm actually not too worried either because I have ult up. So whenever I have ult up, I get kind of happy. It's like, hey, we get pretty much death immunity for a few seconds, right? So we're going to go ahead and use it here. Maybe I should have been a little bit more aggressive with this ult. But in fact, I think I should have been a little bit more aggressive, but I kind of just wanted to stay on the convoy. So maybe this is fine. But usually I'm a little bit more aggressive with it. In any case, though, we probably could have held ult for a little bit. We probably didn't have to use it there, but you live and you learn, I guess. Here is me trying to heal Magneto, but getting caught on the other Magneto's ult. But we were able to immune that, which was huge. And we're just sitting on convoy. Again, we're just trying to heal up ourselves and our allies. I probably should also be sitting with that Magneto instead of spacing out right there. Reason being is because, again, I heal myself with my autos. So they're going to focus me anyways. I might as well just make it as hard as I possibly can for them. But we do not get the next point. However, we do get quite a bit of distance. So that honestly was not a bad round at all. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to rock with the Cloak and Dagger again. I know my teammate's playing Rocket, but even if he wasn't playing Rocket, I just still would have stuck with her because right now I have about 34k healing, which is pretty good, especially from us not really healing that much from the first round. I mean, remember round 1, we healed like, what was it, like 6k or 7k, something like that. And these last 2 rounds, we've literally healed for, about maybe like 26k or so. So, I mean, there's just a massive difference when it comes to healing with this character. But let's go ahead and like skip this part and just kind of get back to the gameplay. All right, so here we are. We're gonna sit up here a little bit. I think this is like the beginning push on this map feels like one of the hardest pushes. Like once you get through this, it's not as hard as the ending push, but once you get through this part, I think the middle push becomes easier, if that makes sense. Because it's not as tight of a corridor. But we're gonna go ahead and just, we put our bubble on the Punisher, making sure he's healthy. Just healing up my DPS here, focusing them best we can. In fact, I don't even know, where was Magneto that whole time? Was he just like AFK? Who knows? But I try to shoot on my bubble whenever I can, especially when my allies are grouped up. And again, we're going to Veil of Light Force is going to be a massive ability. If we get good ease onto people, it's going to allow them to increase the healing they take, and it's going to allow us to, heal them easier and whatnot. So right there, for example, on Magneto, we're able to do that. He's going to get it about 15% more healing from me and Rocket for a few seconds, which is huge. So we put another bubble here. And just trying our best to heal up our allies. Not much needs to be said about this at all. But they're doing a pretty good job. We're doing a pretty good job, I think, of healing. And right when I say that, he dies. Unfortunate. But we're doing a pretty good job of healing. They're doing a pretty good job. And then, again, whenever we can, we're shoving out our E in Cloak form. And that E is going to be really, really massive. Because not only is it going to do a nice burst of damage, but it's also going to blind that enemy or the enemy's caught in it for about 1.5 seconds, which is huge. So it kind of like screws up their sense of where everybody is. But the other thing too is it increases the damage they take by 20% for about 3 seconds or so, which is massive. So think about shooting a tank with that and making them take 20% more damage because it decreases their vulnerability by 20%. And that's one thing I think people kind of overlook a little bit. So whenever they have that like sort of purple haze or that purple glow on them, you know that they're taking increased damage, and your DPS can farm them. But we go ahead and we get ult here. We're just gonna ult around point. Didn't have to ult there. Didn't have. That was bad ult. That was should have held it. Definitely should have held it. But it is what it is. And we're just gonna try to move out of the way. Immune one shot from Hela and just move out of the way from her. And we actually could have probably used it here, if anything, and immune her ult damage for our allies. But that's all right. Cloak and Dagger, like I said, gets our ult back really, really fast. But sometimes you just have bad ults. I think one of the things about support is just knowing when to ult at the best times. It's one of the hardest things about support. I have bad ults to this day. You know, multiple times in a session. If I'm just like grinding, I'll just have like bad ults. But sometimes I'll have really good ults, and I think that really separates the good supports from the bad supports, I would say. You know, the support ults in this game are very, very, very big. They're very impactful. They're very broken. Especially Lunas and Mantises, and even Cloak and Daggers. People don't think of Cloak and Dagger ult like that, but I think Cloak and Dagger ult's way better than people give it credit for. People need to learn how to play around it, man. That's just kind of like what it is at the end of the day. You just have to learn how to play around it. But I'm not too pressed right now that everybody's dead, or we shouldn't be at least, because they only have 10 seconds. Again, this is OT. We got it pretty far. So now they're going to have to sit on the point the entire overtime until they can't, and then, you know, it stops, right? So we, I think we want to combo ults here. I almost have my ult. Low-key, I want Magneto to keep taking damage so I can ult. But we get a pretty good E right there. I'm grouping up here with my team. I want to be with my team, but not too close. And then Namor gets a massive ult, and so does Punisher. So, I mean, right when you see that on the kill feed, you realize you just won the game. Easy peasy, massive ults from the boys. That's why DPS is OP. And we end that game with about 41k healing and about 8k damage, so pretty good. I do think the turning point, at least for me in that game, came from that switch, right? Came from switching out the rocket, again, switching to Cloak and Dagger. But we out-healed everybody by like a massive margin. We did 41k. Not a massive margin, but we did, you know, a pretty big amount. We actually probably would have healed more had we not gone rocket the first game. So in any case, though, guys, that's the game. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you all learned a lot from this game. I hope this game was entertaining to you guys as well. Again, it was a funny game to look at overall because I feel like both teams just got stomped on defense for the most part. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot. And until the next video, see ya.